Hey, what's up, my friends? Baldwin here from the Speaker Lab. Welcome back to another speech breakdown, where today we're going to be taking a talk from my friend Jeff Rose from the YouTube channel Wealth Hacker. We're going to be taking a presentation that he gave a couple of years ago at a financial bloggers conference. And as a little caveat here, I was actually helped him a little bit with this talk. I was actually sitting on the front row of this presentation. So Jeff is a good friend of mine and actually a neighbor. He lives right over there. You can't see it, but that's where he's at. And actually, we recently recorded a couple of videos on his channel that we'll make sure and link up to, all about being a speaker. So we're going to, let's just get right into it. Let's roll this video and the speech breakdown from Jeff Rose.
FinCon, what's up? I gotta see this. So where are...
All right, now one of the things that we've talked about before is the first few seconds that you are on stage is some of the most critical moments that you have for a talk, because at that moment, the introduction has just wrapped up, you've come on stage, and you have the attention of the audience. Now, the default for a lot of speakers or people who may not do a ton of speaking is to go to the kind of crowd work, so to speak, and meaning that you would say something like, how's everybody doing, or what's up, or, make some noise, or I can't hear you, or that kind of stuff. And you can tend to lose the first few powerful moments that you have there. So there's a little line that is fine there, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't go too much further into it here. But again, just something to be aware of, to not go too long with that while you lose that precious time while you have their attention.
My first time FinCon people at? Raise your hand.
Okay, now look around the audience here for a second, because anytime you're doing some type of interaction like this that's just simple, remember, he's just come out on stage, he has zero trust or rapport with the audience, and so if he was asking them, hey, I want you to stand up, I want you to get in groups of 10, and I want you to go around the circle, and I want you to share what is your deepest, darkest secret that you've never told anybody before, like that is not going to go over well. But doing something simple like getting people to raise their hand immediately starts to build some trust and some rapport there, and it also gets the whole room engaged. So when you see everybody doing this, this is a very, very simple way to get the audience engaged, to get their participation, just by having people show of hands.
ET, you see this? All right, now I want to see, where are the six of your people at? All right, these are my people. All right. Okay, so I'm going to borrow Pat's DeLorean, and we're going to go back in time 6 years. So my wife and I...
Okay, now he referenced Pat's DeLorean. Now Pat is another speaker at this conference, and so this works in a context where everybody's going to be familiar with that for the most part. Now also keep in mind that if people don't know who Pat is, or if Pat's not if it's just kind of an inside joke, it works as long as everybody's in on the joke. But for people who are on the outside of the joke, they're like, I don't understand what he's referencing. Now, it's a little throwaway remark there. I'm gonna use Pat's DeLorean here, and it's not like this big story, but if you told this big story that if you didn't understand it, didn't make any sense, then that's not going to work. But just referencing a quick little line there is okay, as long as enough of the audience is familiar with what it is that he's referring to.
Mandy, we had just welcomed home our second son. And for those of you that have 2 children, like, you know how stressful it is to go from having 1 child to having 2 children. Like, you really haven't quite figured out how to take care of this first child, right? Like, they don't have an instruction booklet. There's no how-to guide. You can't really watch YouTube videos on how to raise a child. And if you are, I seriously question your parenting skills. So now you have this second newborn, that second diapers.
Now this is a good example of where you don't necessarily have to tell a joke or tell a story in order to be funny. So the thing that people were responding to and laughing to was actually the image. Now I don't know how well you can see the image there. Looks like a baby that is, let's just say a male baby who is projectile urinating, and it's just kind of going by the vase there. And so doing so, though, in terms of just showing a picture, that the picture is what creates the humor, not necessarily something that he's saying. So another thing to think about is, if you're worried about, like, I don't think I'm funny, or I'd love to inject more humor into my talk, sometimes it's as simple as putting up a slide or putting up an image or showing a quick video. That's the thing that creates the humor without you having to actually say anything.
Change, second bath time, second mouth to feed. Like, it's a pretty stressful time in your household. So if this wasn't chaotic enough, our second son came right when we were building our dream home. And our dream home was almost done, which means we got to look forward to one of the most fun-filled activities that any family can do, and that's move.
So again, another example of where the picture was the thing that created the humor. Now, another thing that he did well in terms of humor there was he said, whenever you've built a house or you're getting ready to go to a new house, we had at that point we had brought a child home, and so we were getting ready to go to the new house and doing the thing that most people love the most, or however he worded it there, but basically leading to the punchline, which was to move, and the punchline timing with the slide, right?
Moved before? Like, I hate moving. I hate packing. Like, you put all the stuff in boxes, you gotta label it, and you don't know where everything is. Like, I just wanna find the sugar. Where'd you pack the sugar? I have no idea. And my wife, Mandy, was in the other room packing while I was in our home office blogging. See, I had made the case to her. I'm like, babe, you go in the other room, you pack, you take care of what you need to, no distractions. I'm gonna step up as the man, and I'm gonna take care of our newborn son while you go pack. And at that day, like our older son was with grandma and grandpa that day, so we just had our newborn. So for those of you that have newborns, most of you know what they do 75% of the day. They sleep. That's all they do. And if they're not sleeping, then they're eating and they're pooping. So in this case, whenever I stepped up and said, hey, I want to take care of our son, like, I kind of knew what I was offering. I was going to kind of hold him, take care of him, but really what I was going to be doing was working on my blog. See, I had convinced myself that...
Now, what he's doing right now is he's setting up the problem through a story, which is a good way to go about doing it, because the story that he's telling in terms of, I have a newborn son, I'm working on my business, I'm building my blog, well, at the same time, we just moved to a new house, there's just a lot happening, very stressful in life, again, all while I'm building this new thing. Speaking to an audience of bloggers, speaking to an audience of entrepreneurs, they can obviously relate to this, whether it means that they have a new child or whether they've moved, they've had life happen where I'm trying to blog, I'm trying to build something, but at the same time, life is happening around me. So he's built this problem up, scratched the itch for the audience, so they feel like in their minds right now, they're going, me too, this is where I'm at. So hopefully, now that he's presented the problem, he'll start to transition to what's the solution to do when this problem happens.
I wasn't working on my blog on that Sunday afternoon, and I was gonna miss out on something. I was gonna miss out on that next epic blog post, or that next epic blog idea, or something. I just was gonna miss out on something. So instead of helping my wife pack, what I should have been doing, I was blogging. And that was, I wish I could say that was the low point in my entrepreneurial journey, but unfortunately it wasn't. So whenever we were packing, Friday nights, guess what? I was working on my blog. Anybody here blogged on a Friday night? I'm not the only one. And that's some.
Now again, let's go back to what we talked about at the beginning in terms of interacting with an audience. So sometimes what you can do is, in terms of getting people to raise their hands, is you can ask them, hey, by show of hands, how many of you have experienced this? How many of you have ever raised your left hand before, right? Whatever it may be. Now the other thing that you can do here is you don't necessarily have to say what the verbal instruction is. Sometimes just doing it is enough to get people to respond. So how many of you have ever done this before? And he didn't give any further instructions. He didn't say raise your hand if, but just by raising your hand, you're indicating to the audience that this is the way to respond.
I know you should be raising your hand too. So I was blogging on Friday nights. If we didn't have a date night planned or going to dinner with friends, I was blogging on Fridays. If we were home on Saturdays, guess what? Working on my blog. Saturday evenings I was home, working on my blog. Sunday evenings, working on my blog. It got so bad that I was taking my laptop to bed with me every single night. And so to all the husbands out there, to all the future husbands out there, so listen up. When you're trying to get some action from your spouse, there is nothing sexier than walking into the bedroom, dimming down the lights, maybe you light a candle, turn on Spotify with your favorite love-making jams, and then you got her right where you want her, and then you whip out your 15-inch MacBook Pro. She don't care if it's 15 inches. She don't care. It's a MacBook Pro. I promise you. And some of you are like, yeah, more like iPad mini there, Jeff, but okay.
Okay, now this is a good joke, but one of the things you always have to be aware of is this is a joke that would fall under the category of a gray area. This works because of the audience and because of who he speaks to and the rapport that he has. This would be a joke that may be a little bit risque to do in an audience where they don't have the rapport, they don't have the connection, there's no like outside context of who this person is, just an outside speaker. But Jeff is someone who's been in this community for many, many years, has built up a lot of love and respect and trust among them. Therefore, he could say something like this and may be able to get away with it. So a clever way of using some humor there.
So eventually it did get better. It did get better. And what it took for me, so this was 5 years ago, I joined a coaching program called the Strategic Coach. And in this coaching program, I was introduced to a concept called the free day. So the free day is defined as a 24-hour period where you do nothing work related. So specifically to bloggers, that means no blog writing, no blog post ideas, no checking Google Analytics, no checking Google AdSense, no checking affiliates, no tweeting, no Snapchatting, no Instagramming, no Facebook messages that have to do with your blog. I look back, and one of the things we had to do in this coaching program, we had to tally how many free days we had taken in the last year. And so I'm in this classroom with other entrepreneurs, and everybody's like tallying, look at their calendars, how many free days they've taken. It took me 5 seconds. 5 seconds to tally how many free days I'd taken. Because the answer, whoops, was 0. Whoops, dang it. 0.
Now let's talk about the slides for a second here, because he was again kind of timing out the punchline of the delivery with the actual slide. Now in this case it's a little bit hard to see. I'm assuming it says free days and then it looks like perhaps a 0, but this is one of the things that you want to be aware of whenever you're using slides is making sure that you test in the actual room how your slides look. Whenever you're working on your slides on a 13 or 15 inch monitor, then it's one thing to be like, oh, this looks great, this is easy to read, this is easy to see. But when it's on a big screen in a different type of room or a different type of setup, it may be a little bit more difficult for people to see, or it may be difficult for, like, the lighting may throw something off where you can't actually read or see what it actually says. So again, that's a good idea just to test things and be aware of things before you get up on stage and be like, oh crap, they can't see what it actually says.
Now, I wasn't writing blog posts every single day, but I was either checking email, I was on Twitter, I was on Facebook, I was doing something with my blog. And there's nothing wrong about being passionate about your blog. Like, we're all here because we want to change the world, right? But when you mistake that passion and you start replacing relationships and family and focusing on your blog more than them, that's not good. You have to take a step back. You have to be able to create space.
Now, one of the things he's also doing here is, as he's kind of leaning into this point about you making sure that you're taking free days and you're taking a step back, is as he's talking about this, he's slowing down his cadence just a little bit and he's talking a little bit quieter. So by just talking a little bit quieter, it can make the point feel a little bit more serious. It can make the point feel a little bit more deep. It can cause the audience to lean in a little bit more to make sure that they're hearing what it is that he's saying. So it's a simple thing to do. It's just when you get to a point that's serious, that you want to make sure you drill home that point, that you want to lean into it, you want the audience to lean back into it, is to just slow down. Talk a little bit quieter. Lower your voice. Slow down the pace. Maybe even pause a little bit. That was an awkward one. Don't do it that way.
From your business so that you can focus on the things that are most important. And you start to recognize, when I took these free days, when I started to intentionally unplug from my blog and my online business, I started to see so many things that I was wasting my time with, that I was stressing out about, that I had anxiety about, things that I was just wasting my time with. And if you're not creating space, you're not able to see like all the successes that you've had, you're not able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, and most importantly, you're not able to stop and smell the roses. Come on!
Okay, let's talk about a couple things here. So his last name is Rose, so he said stop and smell the roses. That is his wife there smelling roses. That is him smelling himself, it would appear. So this joke only works as long as people are aware of his last name. So this is also, he handled it really well, where put up a picture there. The picture's supposed to be the humor, the joke. It doesn't really get much of a reaction. So just to like dig into that a little bit more, and you can do it a couple different ways. You can say something like, you can't just move on from it, or you can say like, oh man, I I thought that was pretty funny, or my wife thought that, or my kids thought that was hilarious, right? And make another little joke and then move on from it, right? No need to keep going on and on. Oh, do you get it? Like you don't have, if you have to explain the joke's not funny, right? So I'm hoping he doesn't keep explaining it here, but just what he did there of like, oh, come on, that was pretty funny. And then moving on from that is, you can get away with that.
So by the way, if you need to stop and smell the roses, my wife Mandy and I will be in the back later, free smells. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
so that was then.
Moving on from it.
I want to take you a snapshot to my life now. So many of the FinCon community know that we've been in the process of adopting for over almost 5 years now. And this year, we just got our placement. We found out that we were getting a girl from the Philippines. And this was an exciting moment for us. So are you ready? This is where we all go, ah. Yeah, right? So she is a personal finance blogger in training. So I figure FinCon 30 or bust, got some way to go. So when it comes to adopting internationally, specifically to the Philippines, like you don't know when you're going to go. Like you could try to plan it out, but it's almost impossible. So what turns out happened was we basically were unplugged for 3 weeks. 3 weeks I had to get away from my practice, I had to get away from my blog, because we had to go there, pick her up, and I wanted to be present with her. So 3 weeks, I had to unplug and create space for my business. So for you out there, just think about where you're at in your business right now. And if you couldn't work on your business for 3 weeks, like how would that look? For me, 3 weeks traveling, going to pick up our daughter in the Philippines, I had the highest revenue month that I ever had in the month of June. And since we are talking about profit, so I was able to exceed over $150,000 in revenue in the month of June. And it gets even better because in the month of July, I beat it. In the month of August, I beat it. And the reason that I was able to do this is because of taking a simple, basic principle, taking a 24-hour period where I just completely unplugged from my business. Because every time I did that, I discovered something about myself, what I needed to do, what I needed to outsource. It was such a simple thing, but so, so powerful.
Now notice there, what again he did there is he slowed way down and he got real quiet. Now be careful that you don't get too quiet to the point where the audience can't even hear you and they don't really know what you're saying. And even though they're leaning in, I have no idea what they're saying. You don't want to be that quiet, okay? So in the room there, he may have been fine, but I had a little harder time hearing him here. So just make sure you can slow down and be quiet, but don't get too quiet there. Again, this is another example. Let's go back to what we talked about at the beginning of he set up the problem of first child comes in, or second child comes in, and I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I have all these different things, we're moving, like life is happening while I'm trying to build a blog. And so what I found was that by taking these free days, as counterintuitive as that may be, that I was able to continue to work and build my business, but it gave me more bandwidth, it gave me more mental space, and now we added our final child into our family, and I had the bandwidth to actually be a part of this. So again, opening with a story, closing with a story, but bringing it really full circle there was really, really good. So even though, someone watching this, someone in the audience may not necessarily say, hey, I have I'm getting ready to adopt or something like that. They may understand and get the challenge of trying to build something while they are raising kids, or while they are moving, or while they are starting a new job, or while they are trying to have a successful, healthy marriage, or whatever it may be, or dealing with some type of health issue of just like life is happening while we're trying to do this. And so the free day is the thing that helped, and that was the solution piece.
Out of today's talk, this is what I want you to do, okay? I'm an action guy, so you gotta go do something. So step one, this is pretty easy. If you have your smartphones out already, you can do this. I want you to schedule a free day on your calendar right now. A 24-hour period where you do nothing work-related and no cheating. You cannot check your email, you cannot get on Twitter or retweet a blog post or whatever. And if you're like, Jeff, 24 hours, that's nothing, I can do that. Okay, then do 48 hours. Or do 72 hours. Can you not check your email for 72 hours? Could you do it? Think about it. All right, step two.
Now he's getting into the now what. One of the things we've talked about is you have so what and now what. The audience is asking themselves, so what? Why does this apply to me? Why does this matter? And now what? What am I supposed to do as a result of this? So he's giving some very practical, tangible things. So as a result of this, your next step is to take a 24-hour period and go do nothing. No checking email, no checking Facebook, no checking any of those things. Just do nothing. So a very, very simple next step action item that people can apply.
After the 24-hour period has expired, you don't do this during, it's the day after, I want you to write down everything about your business that you thought about, everything that you stressed out about, everything that you're like, oh my gosh, am I missing something? Do I need to do this? I want you to write down on a sheet of paper everything that you thought about that stressed you out. And the final step is look at that list. Quickly identify what are the silly things that you're stressing out about that you don't need to be doing. So I encourage you to do that. Ask yourself, as the CEO of your business, because guess what? If you're a blogger in your online business, you are a CEO. Act like it. All right, so the last thing what I want you to do is when you take this free day, because I want everybody to do it, you're going to take this free day, and then after the fact, you're going to tweet me at JJeffRose, and you're going to let me know how you're able to create space in your business. What did you identify that you're wasting your time on? Listen, we all can work hard, we all can hustle, but if you're not creating space from your business, you're missing out on so many important things and you're not living the life that you should. Thank you.
Okay, good finish there. So two things that he did really well is one, gave some type of call to action where a way that they can connect with him, but doing it in a way that ties back into the conference. So really smart move there. And the other thing too is, again, he kind of landed on one final point. It wasn't like he was moving around and just kind of, yeah, I think that's the end of my talk and just walk off, but just plant, deliver that final thing and be done. So really well done. Solid job from my boy Jeff Rose there. There you go. Good stuff there from Jeff Rose. Hope you enjoyed that speech breakdown from his talk at the Financial Bloggers Conference a couple of years ago. Hey, again, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. If you want to see some of the videos that I did for him on his channel, talking about some tips and strategies for speakers, we're going to link up to those, so make sure that you check those out as well. Hey, again, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you comment below. Let us know if there's other talks, presentations that you would like for us to review, as well as what are the things that you're going to take from this speech breakdown and apply to your next presentation. All right? Thanks for hanging out with us, my friend. We'll catch you next time. You're awesome.